Tarantino doesn't pick actors. He creates legends. Samuel L. Jackson claimed a role like it was written in his blood. Uma Thurman nearly lost her life in a car crash on set, and their bond was tested forever. Leonardo DiCaprio blew everyone away when he bled for real in Django. Christoph Waltz saved a film Tarantino almost gave up on. Kurt Russell brought ghosts of a lost Hollywood back to life. And Michael Madsen carved silence into pure menace. But here's the wild part. Behind the loyalty came betrayal, accidents, and obsessions that nearly tore Tarantino's world apart. And once you hear the full story, you'll never see these actors the same way again. Some actors audition. Samuel L. Jackson didn't. When he walked into that room for Pulp Fiction, he didn't ask for Jules Winfield. He took it. Tarantino later admitted it wasn't casting, it was destiny. From that moment, the rules changed. Tarantino stopped writing for characters and started writing for Jackson's voice, the rhythm, the authority, the fire. It was unlike anything Hollywood had seen. Jackson once said, "I didn't audition. I claimed that role, it was written in my blood." And he proved it. In Jackie Brown, he made menace look like charm. In Django Unchained, his role divided audiences, forcing them to confront fear, loyalty, and power in ways no one expected. By The Hateful Eight, Tarantino didn't just cast him. He built the entire pulse of the film around him. But that's not all. Tarantino even confessed, "If I gave Sam the phone book, he'd turn it into Shakespeare." That's not flattery. That's recognition of a truth. Jackson wasn't a guest in Tarantino's world. He was the cornerstone. And yet, Tarantino's loyalty wasn't reserved for just one man, because the next actor became more than a collaborator. She became a myth. She didn't just play a role, she became a myth. When Uma Thurman danced across the screen as Mia Wallace in Pulp Fiction, she wasn't just acting, she was rewriting pop culture in real time. The silence, the cigarette, the glance. Tarantino knew instantly, this was different. But it was Kill Bill that sealed their fate. 6 months of brutal training, 5 days a week, 9 to 5. The Bride wasn't built for just any actress. She was built for UMA. Every sword strike, every pause, every glare. But here's where it gets dark. On set, a car stunt went horribly wrong. Thurman crashed. She was badly injured. And suddenly, the world turned on Tarantino. The press accused, fans doubted, their bond nearly shattered. It gets crazier. Because even after the pain, even after the blame, Tarantino admitted something he never says lightly. "I don't think I'll ever create a character more powerful than the Bride, and I wouldn't want to unless it's with Uma." Their relationship was messy, complicated, but that's what made it real. And in Tarantino's universe, real doesn't fade. It becomes legend. But that wasn't the end of his risks. Because the next actor didn't just challenge Tarantino, he bled for him. Before Tarantino, Leonardo DiCaprio was Hollywood's golden boy. Romances, prestige dramas, survival epics. But Tarantino dragged him into the dark. In Django Unchained, Leo wasn't handed a charming hero. He was given Calvin Candy, a southern monster rotting behind a perfect smile. And here's the shocking part. Tarantino admitted he wasn't sure Leo would go there. It was too ugly, too dangerous. But Leo didn't hesitate. He leaned in. During that infamous dinner scene, he smashed his hand on glass. Real blood gushed everywhere, and he didn't break character. He kept going. He finished the scene in one take. The crew was horrified. Tarantino didn't yell cut. He waited until the moment was done. That performance didn't just shock audiences. It redefined DiCaprio. He proved he could be cruel, terrifying, unforgettable. And Tarantino never looked back. Years later, when he wrote Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, he said it was Leo or nothing. Rick Dalton wasn't a role for just any actor. He was written for one man, a star past his prime, fading into irrelevance, desperate to hold on. And Leo made it human, sad, funny, vulnerable. But listen to this. It wasn't just about acting. It was about trust. Tarantino gave Leo the most dangerous parts of his career. And Leo delivered every time. But Tarantino's next discovery wasn't a superstar. It was a man almost no one in America knew. And he would save Tarantino from failure. Before Tarantino, Christoph Waltz was a mystery. A respected European actor, but in Hollywood, practically invisible. And then came Inglorious Bastards. The script had a problem. Hans Landa, the villain, was written as too smart, too talkative, almost unplayable. Tarantino admitted it himself. If I couldn't find the right actor, the movie was dead. And then Waltz walked into the room. From the first line, it wasn't acting. It was possession. The milk, the cigarettes, the smile hiding something cruel. Audiences were hypnotized. Hollywood was shaken. Overnight, Waltz went from unknown to Oscar winner. But here's where it gets crazy. Tarantino wasn't done. 2 years later, he wrote Django Unchained, another massive role. But this time, the complete opposite. Instead of a monster, Waltz became the moral compass. The man with empathy in a brutal world. That duality was no accident. Tarantino was testing him. And Waltz didn't just pass. He dominated. He could terrify. He could inspire. He could do both. Tarantino later admitted he didn't need to direct Waltz. He just needed to protect him. Because when Waltz spoke, every word hit like poetry dipped in venom. But that wasn't the end. Because while Waltz exploded onto the scene, Tarantino's next choice wasn't about discovery. It was about resurrecting a ghost from Hollywood's past. For Tarantino, Kurt Russell wasn't just casting. He was nostalgia made flesh. A symbol of the gritty masculinity Tarantino grew up watching. Strong, silent, dangerous. When Russell appeared in Death Proof, he didn't storm the screen. He creeped in. As stuntman Mike, he was charming, pathetic, terrifying, all at once. Tarantino once said, "There's a sadness in Kurt's eyes you can't direct. You either have it or you don't." And that sadness made the character unforgettable. But that's not all. Years later, in The Hateful Eight, Tarantino needed someone to anchor a room filled with killers and liars, not with rage, with presence. And Russell delivered. The hangman didn't shout, he didn't beg, he simply existed, and the room bent around him. It gets even deeper. In Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Russell didn't need a big role, a voiceover, a few scenes, that's all. But with just minutes on screen, he grounded the entire film. Because when Russell shows up, the chaos pauses. It's not just a character, it's an ERA returning. That's why Tarantino never overuses him. Kurt Russell isn't a tool, he's a reminder, a living bridge between old Hollywood and Tarantino's violent modern mythology. But the next actor wasn't about nostalgia. He was there from the very beginning, and his quiet menace still lingers. Some actors scream for attention. Michael Madsen never had to. From the first time Tarantino cast him in Reservoir Dogs, he proved that silence could be more dangerous than violence. As Mr. Blonde, he didn't yell, he didn't rush, he hummed a tune. He moved slow. And then came the ear-cutting scene, one of the most infamous in cinema. The horror wasn't in what you saw, it was in how calm he made it feel. Tarantino saw that and knew. This wasn't just another actor, this was family. Madsen became a permanent fixture, returning for Kill Bill, The Hateful Eight, and even Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. But here's the thing. He never demanded the spotlight. He didn't need lead roles, because his presence alone shifted the room. Tarantino once admitted, Mike makes silence feel like dialogue. And that's why he kept bringing him back, not for box office, not for headlines, but because Madsen's quiet menace became part of Tarantino's language. Some actors age out, others fade. But Madsen, he still lingers like a shadow, watching, waiting, dangerous. And when you add him to the list with Jackson, Thurman, DiCaprio, Waltz, and Russell, you don't just see actors. You see the DNA of Quentin Tarantino's entire universe. Quentin Tarantino doesn't cast like anyone else. He doesn't chase trends. He doesn't follow rules. He builds a world, and only a chosen few get to live inside it. Samuel L. Jackson gave him fire. Uma Thurman gave him myth. Leonardo DiCaprio gave him blood. Christoph Waltz gave him genius. Kurt Russell gave him history. And Michael Madsen gave him silence that still chills. Together, they're more than actors. They're the language Tarantino speaks. The reason his films don't just play, they possess. But here's the question. Which of these legends defines Tarantino's universe the most? Was it Jackson's fury, Uma's vengeance, Leo's blood, Waltz's words, Russell's weight, or Madsen's menace? Drop your answer in the comments, because this debate will never end. And if you want more stories exposed from the hidden corners of Hollywood, make sure to like, subscribe, and join us for the next one.